This is Boxing Talk 8576. I want to talk about champions. And what I mean about that, great champions in boxing, past, present, or whatever, you know, that we have. But my criteria of a great champion is a guy that in a division he cleaned out the division. He became champion and he cleaned out the division and dominated his division so well that he was the man in his era in that division without question. And I have a couple fighters that I want to mention. Felix Trinidad, if I'm not mistaken, this is off the top of the dome. He was undefeated as a welterweight. He had multiple title defenses when he won after he won a title. He beat Oscar De La Hoya, his rival in the same division, that was a great fighter at the time. People called it the super fight, the fight of the decade. 1999, that fight happened. And he was clearly the man after that fight at 147. He dominated that division. He came out of that division, moved up, but before he moved up, he cleaned out the 147 division, capped it off with the fight of the decade. So Felix Trinidad gives big thumbs up in my book of being a great champion at 147, the welterweight division. Joe Calzaghe, without question, he retired undefeated as a super middleweight champion. He had multiple title defenses. He is the best super middleweight ever, in my opinion. He kind of put it on the map. No one has dominated at super middleweight like Joe Calzaghe. He beat Bernard Hopkins. He beat Roy Jones. He beat some really good fighters. He defended his title. When he retired, it was no question who was the best 168-pound fighter, so I'm going to give a thumbs up to Joe Calzaghe. Joe Louis, without question, he was the man at heavyweight. This was when it was prideful to be a heavyweight champion. This was when being heavyweight champion, you was the man on the planet, the baddest man on the planet, without question. And during that time, Joe Louis had multiple title defenses. He cleaned out the heavyweight division in his era. He handled his business, and he was without a doubt the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Another one, Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones, he dominated kind of two divisions. He dominated at middleweight and he dominated at light heavyweight. Roy Jones was super fast, super quick. There was no one else like him. He was very unorthodox. You couldn't even have sparring partners to train for Roy Jones. Roy Jones was that unique of a fighter in his prime. He eventually went up to win a heavyweight title, then came back down and fought a hungry Antonio Tarver. Won the first fight because in that first fight was life or death, and then the second fight he ended up losing. But Roy Jones, without a doubt, dominated the divisions he participated in. It's not his fault that he didn't have a lot of big names to fight at light heavyweight. He did fight some big names at middleweight like Nunn. His big fight, his super fight, that he had in his era was James Toney, and that was, James Toney was a really good fighter at the time, and he was a good fighter at the time, and they fought, and he won that fight. He beat Bernard Hopkins. So Roy Jones was a special fighter. Another fight I want to talk about is Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez. He was a great lightweight, and he won, multiple titles. He defended his title so many times it was crazy. And he won the fight of his era, the biggest fight of his era, when he fought Meldred Taylor. They both was undefeated. Meldred Taylor was a tremendous fighter. Everybody need to go look up Meldred Taylor, go look at some of his fights before he fought. The fight that he fought against Chavez, and before that, after that, Meldred Taylor was really not the same after that fight. But anyway, Chavez was a great fighter, Mexican warrior. He eventually won 100 fights. I think he went 89-0 or 90-0 before he lost his first fight against Frankie Randall. And yeah, Chavez was a great fighter. He ended up moving up, but he really made his bones in the lighter weight divisions. It was no, no argument of who was the best at in his division in his era. Another fighter was Bernard the Execution Hopkins. He dominated the middleweight division. He broke Hagler record, and he had multiple title defenses. He broke Hagler record, like I just said. Hopkins, cleaned out the division. I mean, he didn't have a whole lot of big names to fight at middleweight, but you gotta, give credit to a guy that cleans out the division and defends his title. Because when a guy fights you for the title, he's coming with everything he has. He knows that's probably his only shot that he will ever get at the championship, and you got to commend a champion that takes on anybody, any and everybody. And Bernard Hopkins did that, and he's still fighting right now today at age 49. Carlos Monzon was a great middleweight champion, devastating power. Had multiple title defenses, and his era just dominated guys. I mean, they said it was no one like Carlos Monzon in the middleweight division. He just was crushing guys that got in his way. So Carlos Monzon, get a thumbs up to him. Marvelous Hagler, without question, was the best middleweight in his era. He had title defenses at the title defenses. He turned down really no one. He was another one of those guys like Hopkins, just kept going on fighting guys. He had some tough fights. John the Beast Mugabe. You need to go see that fight. That was a great fight. Hagler was a great champion. Great long reigning champion. Both of the Klitschko brothers. Since the heavyweight division been going down,